Okay. Well, as it's not a room full of like 8,000 people, I highly encourage you to interrupt me and ask questions, and we can talk like a little bit more about what you're interested about. I do the slide deck. I'll go through, but there's something like, that's interesting. Don't wait. Feel free to jump in. We can be a little more informal and have a conversation about some of these things. But thank you all for joining me. We got a slightly international office here. Not a large group, but we've got many parts of the globe represented here. So my name's Chad. I'm going to talk a bit about our Makers Making Change program, which is really looking to sort of use open source hardware to try to fill some gaps in the assistive technology market. We get a little confusion. So I work for a nonprofit called the Squire Society. They're a Canadian registered charity whose mission statement is to use technology, knowledge, and passion to empower Canadians with disabilities. Started in 1984, and they actually invented some of the first sort of mouth-operated controls to use computers. Other people in rehab hospital saw what Neil was doing. Like, well, I don't need that, but I need this other accommodation. And it really started our work in having a focus on how technology can empower people with disabilities. It's a large organization, so over 5,000 people a year in these sort of different areas of employment, assistive technology, digital literacy, and then our innovation or R&D department. But a lot of work that pulls it together is collaborating with partners. So Makers Making Change is a program in Squire. When we started, it was a very new, novel idea. Now, COVID made this all sort of normalized, where manufacturing can happen at the local level. People can share open source designs and create sort of pieces. So you can sort of think of it very similar, sort of the open source medical supply sort of movement in response to COVID, is where we're building a library of open source assistive devices that anyone can sort of fabricate. We've done a number of sort of buildathon events where either people come together face to face, pre-COVID, or together in a Zoom room, help walk people through some of our builds as well. And it's been a real effective model to try to get some low cost assistive technology to people really across North America. Well, we're a Canadian focused organization. We've seen a lot of pickup from the States, and we've started to have some interest now from Mexico and Brazil and a group in Germany and Australia about like how they can sort of take this model and run with it. Got to have the funder slide in to say that I thank them. So majority of our funding is comes through the good taxpayers of Canada, through the Government of Canada's Innovation, Science, and Economic Development Department. We got started by winning a Google Innovation Award, which we'll talk about right now. And they've had some support from foundations, corporations, and really trying to incorporate sort of our program model into education and fab lab sort of areas, but specifically on education, trying to, there's a lot of focus on teaching kids STEM skills, or sort of focus, well, let's teach kids STEM skills that also helps the community. So you're not going to learn 3D printing to make a Yoda head or a phone case. You can 3D print an assistive switch or an assistive device. So we got started with the lip sync. So this is, and I have one right here. It's essentially a mouth, sorry, I'm trying to bang the microphone, you guys. It's basically a mouth-operated mouse. So this was built for people that are quadriplegic, maybe ALS, CP, minimal hand movement. It's basically a joystick, a mouse they can use their mouth. So with a mouth on it, you can move the cursor up, down, left, right, and you can sip and puff to left click, right click, or on your smartphone to tap, go back. Squire had invented some mouth-operated controls for computers, but there wasn't really any innovation in happening, and they didn't work on mobile phones at all. So this is a completely open source solution. We got the initial work for this funded by the Google Foundation. And our model at that time, instead of going traditional manufacturing, was to release it open source so that anyone could sort of make it, kind of remove those layers like national distribution and regional resellers, and really lean on the community to help fabricate these devices. So on the Makers Making Change website, you can see the full bill of materials, where we order the parts from if you're in Canada, or where you order the parts from if you're in the States. There's the 3D print files, there's a code for the Arduino. And we've built literally thousands of these. I built thousands of these. Volunteers have built thousands of these in different communities and areas. And similar, when we were doing this work and trying to reach the objectives of the Google grant, people were like, well, I don't need this, but if I could put a cup holder on my wheelchair, or if I had a way to help me hold a pen, or I can't squeeze my nail clippers. That sort of started us around creating this sort of library of other solutions. So, but we'll sort of make our programs work. And again, this was very new when we started work in 2017, and the model really got validated by the initial COVID response. This is a sort of maker movement and leaning on, be it community libraries with 3D printers or maker spaces or student robotic programs, but really leveraging the maker movement to help volunteers, fabricators, really crowdsourcing and have a number of people volunteering their time to build things, and releasing our designs and other people's designs open source to our platform. So just give you a bit of an idea, if you're not from the assistive technology world, switch access sometimes for someone that has very limited control of their environment or needs help with speaking, they'll use switches. So usually 2 switches. One switch kind of to select the right word, and one to say that's the word. But the switches can be very expensive. The microlight switch, which is the commonly prescribed ones, and these are US prices, about $85. And on our website, we have a design for to make something very similar for about $5. And it's literally just a tactile switch with a mono cable switch out of the end. It's not a high technical sort of piece. So now these can be made for about $5. And then a lot of the assistive technology has proprietary mounts, and you get proprietary mounting arms, so it's very expensive, where we have, a 3D printed jig that then will screw into any sort of camera tripod sort of fitting. So the abilities for, some simple maker skills around sort of bit of soldering or bit of 3D printing can really make things much more affordable. So families that maybe need an extra switch for kids to access to switch activated toys or adaptive video gaming, all of a sudden it can get very, very expensive if you're going the sort of traditional assistive technology route. Whereas, a group of volunteers can make a number of these sort of switches in an afternoon and really sort of change the ability for people to access things independently. And makers have a really important role in this. There was actually a study looking at sort of makers in healthcare and trying to teach occupational therapists around designing assistive technology or use 3D printing. And there was good feedback from it that found that, 3D printing, the ability to sort of customize things and tweak things that just buy on the shelf really could have a better fit and better impact for clients. But there was a big upskilling curve. And, will the occupational therapist have time to be like Fusion 360 masters? Perhaps not. And that there's actually really value in that sort of co-creation, co-design sort of piece. So when people sign up for our sites, we try to bucket them into at least one of these groups. So, are you an assistive technology user that needs something? Are you a disability professional that works with people and maybe can help apply a bunch of pieces, but have a good idea around sort of like learning goals or, physical rehab goals? But then also that maker to help provide fabrication assistance. So we find that the best projects that we worked on is sort of that Venn diagram where those 3 groups come together, where you're working directly with the person with disability, an expert in that sort of disability or working with that client, and then also that maker that can help bring the sort of fabrication knowledge to the table. So I had 20 minutes, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about different ways where you could perhaps get involved. And again, if you have questions or ideas, you should just turn your microphone on and interrupt me. So we do have a library. It's a bit of an older screenshot. It's about 125 projects in the library now. And the majority of them are not made by my staff or my team. Some of them are. I do have some engineers, and I do have a good job of trying to find youth intern funding and hire, students from local universities. But more and more of the projects come to the library are actually from the community. And we've seen this, someone comes up with a really great solution for someone in their community. I want to try to document it and get it up so it's repeatable and replicable for other people in other areas. So I would say about 75% of the projects on our site aren't from Neil, Squire, Make Change engineers. They're actually from other people that design solutions and shared those back. Another really great way to get engaged in this sort of work of creating assistive technology is we launched a forum about a year and a bit ago. What was happening before was everyone would email chat, and my email inbox did not scale at all. So the forum is a chance where people can share different pieces, and there's a couple category areas I think for makers are really good areas. There's design challenges. So these are projects where someone has said, like, this is what I need, and to the best of our knowledge or our resources, we don't have a solution for that. So it's a chance for people to sort of work on that, whether that's something that you take on, or perhaps you have students that you work with and want to take that as a design challenge to work on. And then there's also just general requests where this is something in the library, be it the lip sync or one of our assistive switches that someone wants, and they just need help fabricating it. So they can put a request onto the form, and people can sort of fulfill that request. And a number of them are very easy sort of things, simple things like a 3D printed key turner, just something that gets some grip that maybe doesn't have finger dexterity. But the commercial ones of these are like $25. This is what, maybe $1 worth of filament and a screw of the fastener, right? So a real chance to sort of, help make an impact for people that maybe don't have the financial resources to buy the devices they need. To try to continue the decentralization and the local fabrication, we've started a chapter program. Chapters are essentially people that have volunteered to try to help lead the work in the area. There's no fee to be a chapter. Usually we end up giving you a little bit of money to try to help further your work in the area. And chapters really look different. Sometimes they're led by occupational therapists. They're trying to outreach to makers or STEM groups locally. Sometimes they're really led by makers that have some capacity and want to get back to the community way and reach out to the disability community. And the best ones got a little bit of both. There's not just one person trying to do it all. There are some local OTs, so occupational therapists or disability professionals also work with makers. And those are the ones that we've really seen to have really great growth. So I wanted to share, I think, and then events. So again, we've done a number of sort of build-a-thon events, pre-COVID. Chad with a bunch of soldering irons and little kits that people make it. Now it's a little bit more of like, here's the STLs and the Amazon cart so you can order the parts to do it. But they've been really good in both in the maker spaces and sort of engaging membership, a way for people kind of come together and do something collectively and kind of have a sort of sense of purpose. But also we've had a lot of success in sort of team building events in sort of corporations where people work. There's a local telecom here that has a big pledge to do 1 million hours of volunteering every year. And for me, it was a really easy sell. Like you have a bunch of engineers taking garbage over creek or doing soup at a soup kitchen, all important pieces, but they actually have, really unique skills, have a sort of more of a skilled philanthropy sort of input. So we've had a lot of success in sort of having corporations as well as student groups sort of engage around sort of these sort of build-a-thon events. So I want to just sort of tell the story of 3 different Fab Labs / maker spaces, give you a bit of an idea. When we were first starting getting the lip sync out, it was a grant from Google, and there was we got the first half of the money to do the design, and we had to get a number of them out there before we got the second half of the money to kind of continue the work. So we were rapidly trying to push and to get a number of these out. So we went to the American Occupational Therapy Conference in Philadelphia in 2017, and at that point, 3D printing healthcare was very new. We were the only booth with a 3D printer. There was one other guy that had a session about it, and they had 2 simulcast rooms. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of people very interested, and no one was doing this work yet. But while we were out there, we visited the state assistive technology program and a couple of different disability organizations out there, and there was an interest. So we went back and we did a lip sync build-a-thon at the Fab Lab Center there. And the fellow on the left, Charles, that was his first time soldering. You may tell that by the way he's kind of holding a soldering iron with a death grip at the top there. But he worked in a disability organization that served a wide range of people. So it was a chance for him to kind of come learn those skills, meet some other people in the makerspace, and start to create that sort of connection and community. The makerspace there now, Fab Lab, helps some laser cut key guards, and design other devices. And he started now contributing 3D designs to our library as well. So it was a chance to kind of, for the Fab Lab to give back to the community, but also actually grow their membership and their sort of connections and their impact in the community. I see Naditha is given an idea of how many people are involved behind the scenes. I have a staff of about 8, which fluctuates given the amount of success I have when applying for youth intern funding to kind of help us on the engineering piece. But volunteering, last year we had over 10,000 hours of volunteering that I could measure. Those are events where they signed up to their website and did things, but we had a design that we posted Thingiverse that was downloaded 40,000 times. I don't know whether each person printed it once or whether one person printed 100 times. So it's a bit of the open source. It gets a little hard to measure, to kind of let on the wild, but yeah, I would say with a sort of a small core staff team that runs on a budget of about $750,000 a year. But the real impact was help with skills, actually the sort of volunteering and the engagement from student groups, maker spaces, and other people. A couple more stories. So I'm in Vancouver, BC, Canada. Just below the border to me, like a 40-minute drive, is the Bellingham Makerspace. I can't go there right now because of the COVID restrictions. But their Makerspace executive director is also an occupational therapist by day. So she has both that sort of maker lens and that need of disability community lens. So they've run a number of sort of events. They've done a lot of toy hacks. The toy hacks is basically adding a female mono jack, so the female end to the Switch, to toys. You can buy those toys already Switch adapted, but it's usually about $250. And it's literally a $20 to $30 toy with just, the activation sensor cut with a mono jack put in. It's a very simple soldering project to do. So we've taught a number of people to solder and also to sort of Switch adapt and build toys. So, and Mary uses those with the kids that she does therapy with, sort of teach cause and effect. Another project that's done there from a maker in Seattle is they call it the Dementia Music Box. So it looks like sort of an old style sort of cathedral radio like my parents have in their basement. And the idea is that sort of music therapy gives people independent control of music. If you give someone dementia a new iPhone with a Spotify account, you're not going to have someone that's listening to music very successfully. So this has a little SD card with music, but the interface looks like just an old radio. You turn the volume up and down and skip tracks with the other knob. And that's also an open source project on our website. Final one, I don't think I'm going to show the video, so I think there's a little time to chat, but I'm a member of the Vancouver Hackspace. Our first event was a 48-hour hackathon where we had 10 different people with disabilities have different access challenges and sort of form teams around them. I learned a lot through that. If you're going to do a sort of an open design challenge in a short period of time, I find it's really good for a prototype, maybe less effective for a finished product, though some people did get their needs met there. But again, that create a real great awareness there. And the Hackspace has signed up as a chapter there. They're adapting toys right now. They've built a number of lip syncs. They've had people come in that laser cut custom pieces for them needed for their disability too. So by bringing people with disabilities into the Fab Lab space, it really sort of helps grow the Fab Lab and their capacity. And the Vancouver Hackspace in particular has been able to use that as a bit of this is how we serve the community, get other grants to actually help fund their work in the community. So that's my short presentation for you guys today. If you want to get involved or learn more, makersmakingchange.com is the website that has all our assistive devices, has the forum, free to sign up, free to participate, and it's really makers like you that help really sort of scale this program and help us serve more people with disabilities, regardless of location. So I've chatted a bunch. Do any of you have questions or things you're curious about?
Yeah, that looks like a really great website. I had a chance to look at it while you were speaking. Although I'm in Illinois, I was pleased to see there's a chapter in Syracuse, New York. I mentioned that because a couple of my cousins are on the autism spectrum and in group homes in the Arc of Onondaga system. Anyway, I was wondering if did you have? I couldn't really find too much contact information for that particular chapter. I was just wanting to know if you knew any of the people in the Syracuse area.
Yeah, it's Arise, A-R-I-S-E, Arise, New York. They are a disability organization, and they actually have a little Fab Lab space in there where they do a lot of custom seating for people. I'm not sure if they've done the work around the sort of cardboard seating and custom pieces, but they have a 3D printer. They contribute a couple of designs up to our site. So I would say they're a highly engaged chapter. Connor helps lead that chapter. He's someone that uses a wheelchair as well. So you have that sort of, he's that Venn diagram, disability professional, lives with disability, works with other people with disabilities. So he's a superstar there.
So they have their own lab, or because I understand in Fayetteville, I think they have one of the early Fab Labs that partnered with a library, the Fayetteville Public Library. I wasn't sure. Well,
yeah, I wouldn't say it's like a full lab. I would say more, they got a back room with a few tools in it. That might be a better, better way to put it.
And his email will be on the site somewhere if I wanted to contact.
Yeah, in the form, likely there's a chapter section.
Yeah, it didn't look like there was a lot of activity in it, so I wasn't sure if there was a better way.
Yeah, the chapters part of our form, I would say, is not as well used as the other pieces, but as like the sort of design challenges side. just looking for the rise. I'm finding a bunch of New York school system stuff. But if you want to drop me an email there, Dean, I can certainly play
Yeah,
matchmaker and connect you. Yeah, my email's up
that'd
on
be
the
great.
slide there. You feel free. I'd be happy to collect your contact.
Thank you.
Any else? Any questions, comments, concerns?
Well, I'd say one other thing. I'm on a workforce development board here, and part of our funds, of course, support people with disabilities. And typically on our committee, you know, we have to spend well close to $10,000 a year for assistive technology, which is, you know, off the shelf material. And I can see leveraging some of the designs on your site. You know, one could probably serve a lot more people by going after the open source things you have there. I was totally unaware of the site, so I'll look forward to kind of going over it and seeing what I can abstract.
Yeah, no, and that's a big part of all of Neil Squire's sort of work too, is around the employment of people with disabilities. The Makers Make a Change program is newer, but we've been running employment programs with disabilities since I started the organization almost 20 years ago. So yeah, this has just been sort of a new model to sort of try to get that reduced costs. And we've seen other state programs too, where I met with the ALS Association in Pacific Northwest. So there's 4 states, and they were showing me those key turners, and you know they're like $20 US each, and I'm like, take your key turner budget and buy a 3D printer, and you will have more money just on that project alone. Never mind anything else you can do with it, right? So there's definitely
Well,
an opportunity for.
of course, with COVID, you say, I mean, it used to be people would come into the WorkNet Center, and you know, we had assistive technology for people with disabilities, but of course, you couldn't come into the WorkNet Center with COVID. So as a result, they were trying to take equipment and bring it to the people, but that's expensive. Whereas $20 versus $1, it sounds very appealing. But
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dean.
Have you ever worked with animals? I mean, have you worked for animals who need assistive technology?
I've ever worked with who? Sorry?
Animals. Have you ever done any assistive technology for any animals?
For any
Animals?
Animals. Not through my work, but on animals, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so not through my work, but I used to have a pet bunny that kind of lost use of her back legs. So we did make a little PVC wheelie cart that I could kind of put her back legs in and she would zoom around. It's on YouTube somewhere, whether I can find that now. But I would not say that's something that we've focused on specifically, but I'll see if I can Google that quickly. You can hear me singing to her at the same time. It's kind of embarrassing, but yeah. Is that a specific area that you have an interest around? Like,
yes, because I work with a shelter and I have 20 cats at my house and a dog. I know it's a huge number, you know, crazy cat ladies, all those. Yeah, but then, so even the cats I have, like we call them quarter cats, half cats, and, you know, 3/4 cats, because not everyone is like a full cat. They might either lost a limb or might have a portion of their head is cut off, something like that. Like some trauma might have happened or accidents or something. And the same with the animals in the shelter as well. We have over 120 animals right now. And most of them, like many of them, are staying in the shelter for long because they have some difficulty, sorry, some disabilities, like most of them either lost their limbs or something. So we are just trying to, you know, start something for them, probably making limbs or the cartwheel that you mentioned, things like that.
well, I just put the cart or the video in of all my YouTube videos. This is the most popular one by far. It's just PVC. I mean, and that's, you know, it's kind of similar to Maker Make a Change program that way, trying to use low cost or common pieces in a new sort of way, right? So the PVC is modular, can cut it to length, put the pieces in a couple wheels. So yeah, that was about 10 years ago now, that one. But I haven't had any specific piece. I guess the only other sort of animal-ish related pieces we have done animal treat dispenser sort of on the side of wheelchairs. Maybe someone doesn't have dexterity in their hands, sort of like a bin, they can kind of pull a lever and feed their, you know, their assistant dog, pieces like that. So, but if you want to take our model and like create the making animals accessible, all of our stuff is open source. You steal anything and that you can from mine and make use of it. Leverage best practices and lessons learned. It's not stealing, it's building.
Idea, like, you know, this is just a model that I can simply replicate for the animals. This is absolutely great for me and the shelter animals as well. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, well, I think we're at time. And Carolina, you said like you got to close Zoom rooms, open next Zoom room so people can go through. So
we're in 1 minute we have to leave. So
okay, well, my email is there. You're welcome to email me. Great participation on our forum in certain areas. So feel free to continue going. And if, you know, working and helping bring assistive technology to your Fab Lab or knowing people with assistive technology need it, by all means, hook me up. I'd love to connect, especially in Montreal there. Montreal folks, I got a good connection with McGill with the Children's Hospital area there. So I need some makers.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Okay,
Ciao.
cheers.